iDiskiTV powered by World Sports Betting, iDiskiTimes.co.za. So I'm shooting this video to choose my coach of the season. The name of the award is named the DStv Premiership Coach of the Season. The name of the award is named the DStv Premiership Coach of the Season. In South Africa, the league is sponsored by a brand called DStv. And that's why the league is called the DStv Premiership. I'm emphasizing this because I see that there's a lot of confusion about the criteria in selecting the coach of the season. 15 years ago, it used to be called broadly coach of the season. In the last 10 years, perhaps it's been trimmed down or specifically drilled to DStv Premiership Coach of the Season or ABSA Premiership Coach of the Season, seeing that we had ABSA as a sponsor of the league 4 years ago or 3 years ago, since 2020. Musa Nyatama of Swallows Football Club won the DStv Premiership Coach of the Month for the month of May. And the people that were judging, Musa Nyatama specifically said he won 3 matches out of 3 in May. And that is equals to 9 points out of 9 in the league in May. That tells you that they are specifically looking at the performances in the league. It is unambiguous. When it was broadly called Coach of the Season, Pitso Mosimane, somewhere in 2004 or 2005, there's a year that he was the coach of the season. In that year, he finished in the top 2 or top 3 in the league, and he also won the SAA Super 8, the top 8 tournament. And that's why he won Coach of the Season at that time, close to 20 years ago now. At that time, the criteria was looking at all competitions. This time around, the criteria is specifically looking at the league. DStv Premiership is equals to the league. So let's look at the nominees then, and I'll tell you what I think about the criteria and the limitation that it brings to all of us. Gavin Hunt is number 3 in the league. He finished number 3 in the league. He's one of the nominees. SuperSport United was not doing well the season before he took over them. And this season he took them to 3rd spot in the league. They had a poor cup run, but that's not considered because they're just looking at achievements in the league. So he came out number 3. He improved SuperSport United. He rejuvenated players like Tyson Fletcher. We all had forgotten about Ndlovu, specifically Ndlovu from Maritzburg United, Orlando Pirates, and now it's SuperSport United. He rejuvenated them. He gave a platform to players, young players such as Patrick Maswanganyi and Tapelo Maseko this season, and a lot of other young players too, but those ones were the shining stars this season. Of course, Grant Magerman being the player of the season at SuperSport United. So SuperSport, by all accounts, had a decent season. They've qualified for the CAF Confederations Cup by mere virtue of qualifying number 3rd on the spot. So that's one of the nominees. Gavin Hunt has said that he disqualifies himself. Not necessarily disqualifies, but he says, I'm not going to win it. He knows that he's not going to win it. There's nothing he achieved that's better than the ultimate winner, which I'll mention towards the end. Jose Riveiro joins Orlando Pirates, who's the other nominee. He joined Orlando Pirates earlier this season. Orlando Pirates came out number 2 this season. They were not number 2 last season. So he took them to the CAF Champions League. Of course, other people, because they misunderstand the criteria of this, they are looking at his achievement in the MTN 8. So that's a great thing for the coach. You won 4 matches to win the MTN 8. That's a great thing, but it's not considered here because they're not looking at cup wins. But yeah, Jose Riveiro, if you want to look at improvement, you will look at the fact that the previous season, I think they were 4 or 5, and now they are number 2 in the league. So he's improved the club in that sense. And in terms of cup competitions as well, the Nedbank Cup and the MTN 8, great runs in both of those competitions, but that's not considered here. But Jose Riveiro is a favorite for a lot of other people. It's safe to say that they're not understanding, I harp on that point, not understanding the criteria. Rulani Mokwena won the league with Mamelodi Sundowns by 16 points. The closest rival to him was Jose Riveiro. Jose Riveiro lost the league to Rulani Mokwena by 16 points. That's 5 matches plus an additional match, 6 matches. 5 straight wins and an additional match, if you want to quantify it that way. Rulani Mokwena clearly changed Mamelodi Sundowns, the tempo in which they attack, the insisting of playing a certain way, the arrogance of being able to implement that and do it. He did it in many competitions across the continent and in the league too, which is the criteria that we limit ourselves to with the DStv Premiership coach of the season. So as Rulani Mokwena, you could clearly see that there was a remarkable difference in the way that his team played on the field of play. So my winner for the DStv Premiership coach of the season is pretty much the winner that the criteria forces you to choose. The criteria looks at achievements in the league, and if you win the league by 16 points, that means you are the winner. You have 5-6 games to spare in terms of looking at the points, but maybe they probably won it with like 8 games to go or 9 games to go. So Rulani Mokwena is the coach of the season. If you limit yourself to the criteria, you're not imagining anything outside of that. You're looking at what the criteria wants. So that's Rulani Mokwena. It's not even an individual or personal choice. It's what the criteria suggests. Can I just touch on that criteria? The limitation that it brings us to, or that it gives us, is that you could be a coach that takes a team from position number 16 in the log, and you could end up in the top 3. The team was in dire straits. It was not doing well. They could hire you, and you could win 12 consecutive matches, and you could jump everyone and get into the top 3. You will still probably, it's a remarkable feat for you to do that, but you will still probably lose coach of the season because it's DStv Premiership coach of the season. You didn't do better than the person who won the league. That's the limitation of that criteria. The reason why a few years back people complained about Benny McCarthy winning the DStv Premiership coach of the season was that that's the only thing he did. He took Amazulu from, I think, position number 12 to position number 2, but he still lost to Sundowns by a mile, by a margin, really, not a mile, that's an exaggeration, by a margin, maybe 5, 6, 7 points margin to Mamelodi Sundowns in that season. There is no better fit in the league than winning it, unfortunately. If we want to see a fairer quantification of a coach's ability, maybe we can expand it. I still think that it's good the way that it is because the league has the most matches. It's the most rigorous test for any coach. If we want to include other cup competitions, quantifiably, when you win the MTN 8, you won 4 matches. Include the Nedbank Cup, that's an additional 5 matches, maybe, if you include the Nedbank Cup. So that's 11 matches more. So if you won all of those matches to win 2 other trophies but not do well in the league, you could still drill it down to the person who won the league. How many wins did they have above and beyond your achievements as a coach? So limiting ourselves to that criteria means that we'll probably almost be stuck with a situation where whoever wins the league wins it. In the last 10 years, every single time someone has won the league, they have won DStv Premiership Coach of the Season or Absolute Premiership Coach of the Season. That's the limitation of that criteria. And that's going to happen again. Rulani Mokwena is going to win it again. Because there's no better way in the league. There's no better gauge of performance in the league than winning it. You can't be number 2 or number 3 and still be considered having done better than the person who won the actual league. The name of the criteria or the category is called DStv Premiership Coach of the Season.